I see your collection back there. It looks pretty epic.
Thank you. I wish I had like one collection of the Monkey King there. I'll have to like fix that.
Nerd Reactor, roll out.
We got to get Disney to make that action figure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Monkey King, pretty iconic role, like a mythical character. Just want to know, how was it like trying to play that character?
It was cool. It was really kind of daunting at first because it's a character that, like, you know, every Asian kid, either in America or in Asia, grew up, you know, reading about or watching on TV or seeing in a movie or something. So everyone has a clear depiction of who Monkey King is. But in this story, we're taking kind of a new take on Monkey King because he's older, he's a father now, and he's got a kid. And so he's dealing with kind of almost real world issues. Like in Journey to the West, it's a allegory, a journey of life and how you mature and find enlightenment as a person, right? And in this story, he's dealing with real world issues of like balancing his professional life with being a father, and how do you do all that stuff when there's a war waging in heaven and then your sons run amok on earth trying to, like, you know, go off on this crazy mission. And he's stuck between the two. And so I think that aspect of it made it really kind of fresh and interesting to me, because it's an aspect of Monkey King that we never really even thought about before, right? To us, he's always this young, rambunctious guy and not an older, more serious father. And so it was cool to be able to play that, but then also have that flashback scene in episode 4 where we get to see what he was like as a youngster.
Yeah, both of you, behind the scenes, American-born Chinese, but Gene, but more on hands because it's your creation. So I want to know, what was it like seeing this adaptation like come into life, just seeing everything with like actors?
Yeah, it's been an incredible experience. It's been really incredible. It's something that I resisted for a very long time. You know, I had a lot of worries about how the book was going to make its transition to a screen. Specifically, the cousin character in the book, I was worried about. But I think, you know, Melvin put together this really, really amazing team. Kelvin Yu, the showrunner, is a really brilliant guy. I think he found a way to address the fears that I had that feel very authentic, that feel very true, you know, and that's kind of what allowed us to move forward.
Melvin, I guess, yeah, bringing everything together, seeing the graphic novel, trying to adapt. Like, what was your mindset? Like, what do we do to still preserve this, but bringing it to like this TV screen?
Well, my first thought in all of it was, you know, I've been a part of adaptations, good ones, bad ones, successful ones, bad ones, you know. And to me, it always starts with the showrunner, the writer, and the author. Can we, you know, is this going to be a good team? And I think from the very start, it was very apparent that Gene and Kelvin got along really well. And, you know, that led to just the creation of a nucleus, right? And that nucleus is how you build your team, how you build all of it. And, you know, they created a show, and Kelvin wrote a script that like was just brilliant. And through that, you're able to get Death and Cretton to join, and you know, our amazing department heads behind the scenes, and then eventually this stellar cast. You know, and it was literally at one point it was Destin called Michelle, and she was like, "I'm in." I called Key, who I'd met a few years before. And then called Daniel Wu, and you know, one by one, they all started showing up when, you know, the material is really good. So it's a nod to Kelvin, and before that, a nod to Gene.
Asian American experience, and then you got Monkey King, and then you have you two, pretty much the very important characters because you birthed Jin.
Yeah.
And so with this, what was it like portraying these characters, like the mom and dad? Like, how does it relate to you? Do you feel like a connection?
Yes, I think we feel very connected to the character of Ben, because, you know, I mean, Yan Yan herself as a mother, and I, you know, obviously have the experience of being a son, and it is all very personal to us. But our process of creating these characters has also been very fun. And you know, we all come from the theater, myself, Yan Yan, and even Ben, actually. So So there is a focus on discovery and rehearsals and exploration, and we did that through the entire shoot. We would, have a lot of meals together. We hung out together a lot outside of the shooting schedules, and we were in constant discussions about how scenes should go all the way to, before a director would call action. So it was very dynamic that way. I think it was very, very exciting for us to create a family just like that.
And in that flashback scene, you get to just have a little more fun with that flashback compared to being the father figure. So how do you channel like the two different sides of the character? Do you just you just go in the zone, or do you try to prepare yourself?
Yeah, probably 2 or 3 bananas in, and I feel like I'm the proper Monkey King. But I think there's a lot of aspects, like the special effects makeup process is 3 hours long, right? So you have a lot of time to sit there and think about what you need to do that day and get into character. So when you walk out of that makeup van with your costume on and your makeup on, you feel like the Monkey King. When you look in the mirror there, you don't see yourself. So the transformation is an easy process there. But for the episode 4 scene, going back to the younger Monkey King, that was awesome because I got to kind of realize all my childhood dreams of idolizing Monkey King as a character and being like a big fan of him. And so I got to play that kind of naughtier, more rambunctious Monkey King there, and being like the jokester that we know him as. I think that scene really kind of informs who he is as a person and the growth that he made over all those years of being who he was.
Yeah, the source material, there's like three different things happening all at once. But the one character you have just Chinky. And trying to translate that into the show, like how hard was that? Like, how do we try to preserve this and showing like how the racist stereotypes of being like an Asian could be a bad thing?
Yeah, that was the trickiest piece, to my mind. It's the toughest nut to crack, and Kelvin cracked it by putting a piece of himself into it. So he took that cousin character from the book, this negative stereotype, and then he blended it with his own experience as an Asian American actor. So in addition to being a writer, he's also an actor. He was in Master of None. He played Aziz Ansari's best friend. The very first role that he got was a stereotype character named Freddie Gong, and Freddie Wong really is kind of Kelvin's reflection on that experience.
With that, I do like the way it's portrayed in the show. It's just how there's layers to it, and because I was like nervous because I know we're going to spoiler territory here, but the reunion scene and I think the way it's played out, I think it was like done well.
Yeah.
Your characters each having their moment to just being fleshed out, like whether building their own business or trying to move up into the world, the business world. So what was that like, reading the script and getting to see like, yes, this is a good meaty sized role?
I think for me, even before I read the whole script, because the script actually came in episode by episode. And so the very first time I read the scene where the first appearance of Christine and Jin, I already fell in love with Christine because there is so much love in the conversation. There is so much misunderstanding between the mother and the son. There's so much trying to understand each other, but there is so much failure in their understanding. So I already love it. And there's so much space for me to create Christine, because in the graphic novel itself that Gene Luen Yang created, mother and father was basically only 2 columns, and that leaves me a lot of space to create this character. So it's fantastic for me. Yeah,
it's very thrilling because for a character, for an actor, when you're creating a character, the identity of a character is not solely based on any one thing, not gender, not race, not political or religious beliefs. I mean, a character is made up of all of these things, and I feel that when I was reading through the script, I got a sense that, oh, I get to be a father, I get to be a husband, I get to be a colleague, you know, and you get to be all these things. And every time you get something else to put into the recipe of building a character, it becomes richer and fuller and more authentic and real.
And with this American-born Chinese, the main character, for you at least, when reading the script, watching it, how do you feel with that? Like in terms of, do you relate to the character from like in terms of your background? Because you go like back and forth from like all over the world, like China, America, etc.
Yeah. Well, I think the unique experience about this project and about the original source material even is that it's like kind of telling people what it's like to be, you know, the child of an immigrant and growing up in America. And so I could relate to so many aspects of the storytelling because I experienced some of those myself growing up, especially growing up in the 70s and 80s, where I literally was like one of the few Asian kids in school, you know, and dealing with that. And so all that was really relatable. So all aspects of the storytelling, whether it was my character or, you know, Ben Wang's character or, you know, the father's character, like all those minutia details that are in the story are very speak to how we grew up in this place, right? And I think I could relate to that fully on all levels. And then you throw in the Monkey King story on top of all that, where you're able to bring out an iconic character from our heritage and show that to like a greater American audience is like a really cool opportunity.
Well, what do you hope to have people get out of this when they're watching this show on Disney Plus of all platforms?
Yeah, and I would, you know, I'm excited about people, you know, watching it together as a family. Being a father of a 9-year-old daughter, it's a show that, you know, is about something. And it's something that you can talk about with your kid, and you can sit there and watch it with your whole family, your mom and your daughter, right? That's the perfect spectrum of audience. And you know, the best part is it's about something real, which leads the conversation.
I think we're in a renaissance of Asian American stories right now, right? With things like Beef, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. And this is sort of the Disney version of that. We hope that it's all ages, but we also hope that none of the sophistication that needs to be there is sacrificed.
You've done a lot of action movies. So with the Monkey King, he does a lot of action parts. Was there any challenges for this one? Or did you get to be like, oh, since I know a thing or two, like, let's see if we would do it this way. Did you have like input?
You know, it was hard doing it with a wig and hair glued to your face. Because that's much harder to do a fight scene when you're like thinking about like an itchy beard and all that kind of stuff. But it was fun because, you know, I was able to meld a whole bunch of different experiences together to create this character and do these fight scenes. And we talked in detail about like how much of like the stereotype Monkey King that we want to bring over to this character. And so, you know, like if you've seen Journey to the West, he's always like very antsy and doing itchy, scratchy stuff, right? And we wanted to show a little bit of that, but not show a lot of it. So you see him do it kind of more subtly as an older monkey. He's kind of just scratching a little bit. And then he does it more as a youngster in the episode 4. But like to pick and choose like cool, iconic parts of that character from the Journey to the West story and bring it over to this story and kind of change it because he's more mature and older now. And like how he would do it as an older person was really fun to kind of analyze that and pick it apart.